Hi everyone, it has been just a few minutes since I have been on here and reviewing a books for you, but we have coffee, we have books, we don't have rain, but maybe later this week. I am so very excited to be back. As we can tell, I have somewhat of a backdrop going on. It's really just like my bookshelves. I am still working to get them exactly how I want them, so you may see things change over a period of time. However, we are not going to bother with all of that. We are going to dive straight into the book of the moment, which actually should release on November 4th of 2025, and it is The House Saphir by Marissa Meyer. Now, I ran across this book because I really love a fairy tale retelling, and I wasn't really certain how retelling or reimagining it really was. Now, Marissa Meyer, I had picked up her Lunar Chronicles with Cinder Scarlet Cress Winter. And I think there was like a little like in between or something like that within that series as well. Yes, Stars Above was a 4.5 and Fairest was 3.5, so little novellas in between. I don't think I got to the novellas, but I did read the full main four. I thought they were great, so when her name came up, I definitely wanted to try to get this book and see what we thought. So let's dive into the summary and we'll go from there. The Queen of Fairy Tale Retellings is back. #1 New York Times bestselling author Marissa Meyer weaves the tale of Bluebeard as it's never been told before. This is a thrilling romantasy and murder mystery, perfect for fans of Meyer's Cinder and Heartless. I probably have Heartless. I'm just kind of like looking beyond the camera to see if I may have it on the shelf. Feels very familiar, like I just potentially unboxed it not long ago. As we can see, we have a lot going on. However, Mallory Fontaine is a fraud. Though she comes from a long line of witches, the only magic she possesses is the ability to see ghosts, which is rarely as useful as one would think. She and her sister have maintained the family business, eking out a paltry living by selling bogus spells to gullible buyers and conducting tours of the infamous mansion where the first of the Saphir murders took place. Mallory is a self-proclaimed expert on Count Bastien Saphir, otherwise known as Monsieur Le Bleu, who brutally killed 3 of his wives more than a century ago. But she never expected to meet Bastien's great-great-grandson and heir to the Saphir estate. Armand is handsome, wealthy, and convinced that the Fontaine sisters are as talented as they claim. The perfect mark. When he offers Mallory a large sum of money to rid his ancestral home of Le Bleu's ghost, she can't resist. A paid vacation at Armand's country manor? It's practically a dream come true. Never mind the ghosts of murdered wives and the monsters that are as common as household pests. But when murder again comes to the House Saphir, Mallory finds herself at the center of the investigation, and she is almost certain the killer is mortal. If she has any hope of cashing in on the payment she was promised, she'll have to solve the murder and banish the ghost, all the while upholding the illusion of witchcraft. But all that sounds relatively easy compared to her biggest challenge, learning to trust her heart, especially when the person her heart wants the most might be the murderer himself. So I enjoyed this book, but I did have the audio book, and this is a personal quirk for me. Every time the narrator would say Le Bleu, they would exaggerate it to like the nth degree, to the point that it like got kind of grating on my nerves. And that is a personal thing. I don't feel as though that was like a negative in the writing style, but for the narrator, that point was a bit annoying. There are certain times, and it's very infrequent in my personal opinion, that I find there's something that the narrator does, but it was just the way they would pronounce certain French words. Now, I am by no means a French expert, or I would probably say I am elementary at best. I practice my Duolingo to whatever like credit that is, but Le Bleu just sounded so very, every time she said it, I'm just like, girl, please calm down. I don't think it's that intense of a pronunciation. So that was one of my, like, I guess, critiques, I guess you could say, but it's really not of the book itself. The book itself was actually pretty fun. So we do kind of start with Mallory. She is about to conduct a ghost tour at this house that she's really not supposed to be touring. And she has already taken payment, so she's got it kind of set up like a, kind of a ghost tour. And there are certain moments, she does certain things, which triggers this, that, or the other to happen. Now, one of the things is she actually can see ghosts. So in the House Saphir, which is the not only the people who are of the lineage Saphir, but the physical house itself, she they gotta, gosh, I just lost my train of thought. Anyway, they don't spend a lot of time at this particular house Saphir. So we start here, but most of the book does not take place here. There is a ghost tied to this house. It is the first wife of Lady Saphir. And honestly, I was just kind of trying to see if somebody could pronounce her name or spell it out for me, because name starts with a T. Anyway, not like Tremaine, but it's kind of something similar. But I loved her. She was fantastic. I really enjoyed getting to know her because she's a very dramatic lady. And so after she births her first child, who happens to be a son, she falls ill, which I definitely think is the Count's doing, or, Count Saphir. It's definitely his doing. And then all of a sudden, oh no, she's dead, but, with like a sword through the heart. But he doesn't really tell anybody, and so he moves on in order to go marry more people. And so he moves out to his manor estate that is, I guess, out in the middle of nowhere. And he marries like 2 more people who all of a sudden also pass away. Like, how is he getting away with this? I guess he's pretty charismatic. Well, the 4th wife, and I remember her name is like Gabrielle, she gets away, but I think she's also part witch herself. So I'm not trying to give you any spoilers, but let's just say that does come into play like deeper into the book. And so even though Count Saphir had married this 4th wife, he didn't get to kill her. And so without giving just too many spoilers, because again, I'm not trying to like spoil this book, I thought it was pretty good and kind of pretty much worth the read. I was intrigued. Trifine. So, okay, somebody actually wrote the whiny ghost wife Trifine. Okay, yeah, she was really fun. And so when we get out to the manor house, there's 2 other wives, one that's like a wilting flower sort of wife, and one that's like a drunkard sort of wife. Like, I don't know how ghosts can be drunk, but she is constantly imbibing of wine, which seems to trigger her to be pretty well toasted in most occasions. Trifine, on the other hand, who's that first wife, even though she was tied to the House Saphir, she also seems to be tied to this particular ring that was her wedding ring. And so when Mallory and Armand go out to the country manor in order to try to rid this manor of... So I guess Le Bleu, or Count Saphir, is back. And Monsieur Le Bleu is haunting the estate once again and kind of more or less wreaking havoc on things and scaring away people. And Armand just needs somebody to come help. So he finds the Fontaine sisters who come out there. Anais is Mallory's sister, and she's, I don't know, there was something about her that was very forgettable. Like, I hate to say that, but I feel like, of course, Mallory's a very dynamic character, But there was something about Anais that, I don't know, just left me feeling very forgettable about her. And I don't know. She was a decent support character, but I just don't feel like she was doing a ton of stuff until like closer to the end. There's like one important part. The Ghost Wives were a little more important, in my personal opinion, than Anais. Now, overall, I probably give this like a 4.25 because I was entertained. There were a couple points where I was just like, ugh, get over it or move on or something, because there would probably be something like cringy happening, so I'd kind of fast forward a little bit because I can't really stand cringy moments too frequently. They make me uncomfortable and give me some anxiety, and I didn't need that after moving an entire house of stuff pretty much by myself. That was it. That was intense. But Armand is very cool. He's also a little bit, I don't know, just flimsy as a character. Like, I wanted him to just be more dynamic, and he does seem like there's a couple moments between him and Mallory that are pretty cute, and he's actually like putting his heart on his sleeve. And of course, Mallory's the type of character who absolutely just does not trust anyone except for like her sister Anais. So like kind of getting through her thick skull is like a gigantic hurdle. And so she feels like she can't trust herself. She feels like she can't trust anyone else. So when Armand is over here sitting here trying to not only break his family curse, but also kind of admit his feelings for Mallory, like Mallory is just like, this is just a job. This is really just a con for her because she doesn't actually think she can rid him of his family ghost. She thinks, okay, well, maybe I can just go through the motions and then he'll think I tried to do everything I could and he'll give me this like 3,000, I don't know, like doubloons or something. I forget what type of money was used. But anyway, there are other monsters. There's like a werewolf-like creature. Oh, and that was one cool thing about the beginning of this book, is the beginning of this book does start with kind of a little bit of an index for various creatures. And so I just kind of wish I had, like, if I had the physical book, when they showed up, I could have referred back to like what they were. But it's like I just have this very quick rundown at the very beginning. And then when some of them show up later in the book, I kind of forgot at that point what they really were supposed to be or anything like that. So that was something that just, if I had the physical book, I think would have made it a little bit easier for me. I also don't know about this retelling of Bluebeard. Maybe I don't know the story of Bluebeard well enough to like tell you how it equates as a retelling. But I personally kind of thought of it more like a reimagining of Bluebeard, but maybe that's just me. I mean, I'm not sure. So I will let you guys decide. But overall, pretty fun. I did love diving back into a Marissa Meyer book. It has been a little while for me, especially since the last ones I read were the Lunar Chronicles, which I may or may not also have one or two books somewhere on a shelf somewhere. I thought for certain I had Cinder somewhere. One note, and this is just a Rachel thing that I don't know if I just went to a weird page or what, but I'll check on Goodreads later. But I went to The House Saphir by Marissa Meyer on Goodreads, and I do not see the summary of the book there. I see the genres that it falls in, I see that it's 432 pages in hardcover, and I see that it's expected publication of November 4th, 2025. I do not see the summary. I can see the comments down below that people have made. Most of them are in line with the way I think, although some of them, I would say the people falling in the 4-star category is where I also fall, because if I give it 4.25, then I'm just going to go ahead and give it 4. But it seems as though at least 50% of the readers are also giving it 4% or 4 stars. But yeah, so that was kind of funny. Now, let's see. I just wanted to see, so there's a person called Marquis. I think it's Marquis, but I don't know for certain. Says it's a post facto retelling of Bluebeard. The line of Bluebeard hires a witch to rid. Okay, so maybe this one tells me kind of what it's about. I don't really know. In the beginning, it sounds intriguing, a post facto retelling of Bluebeard in which the action takes place a century after the events of the fairy tale, when the last scion of the noble house Saphir, the line of Bluebeard, hires a witch to rid his ancient mansion of evil influence. No, that sounds like this book. On the surface, it reads like a typical Ancient Evil Returns plot. All you need is a feisty character to do some sort of spell or exorcism, and that's it. No complications. Well, that's exactly what we get in this book. So I don't know if they were just synopsizing this book in that little nutshell, but it was the first, it's literally the first of like 650 reviews. If you guys want to go look at the full review, like, you're welcome to go onto Goodreads and try to find it. But with all of that being said, I'm going to go ahead and leave it here. I know I am just getting back to trying to do my reviews for November, but honestly, I was taking a peek at like the amount of books. So October, I weirdly overwhelmed myself with way too many books. So I have written 90% of those reviews, and I still have a few left to get finished tomorrow. But for November, it's actually fairly light. I guess there wasn't just a ton that I was finding, but I will keep my eye out. I do have at least a total of 12 for November, but what I may also do is try to go back and review some of the books that I did in October, like that I read in October, that I thought were worthy of reviews. So I do have one that for sure I want to review, but I'm only going to give it 3 stars. But I don't usually do that, but we got to talk about it. We do. But anyway, with all of that being said, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. If you haven't liked and subscribed already, I hope you will consider it. And I will see you all on the next page. Have a great one. Bye.